Hi, welcome to your next section in sport law. I think you're going to find this week very interesting because it's very applicable to your career choice. And that's what I love about these classes and these courses. For the most part, especially the sports, fitness, and recreation management degree was designed to be very relevant and very hands-on for you to actually get done with the course and say, okay, I can apply that to my life. I have learned something that's going to help me in my career. And this week we're going to be talking about risk management and legalities surrounding injury and injury prevention. So make sure you read the assignment carefully. Go by the rubric. I really do rely on the rubrics. And this week I'll grade according to the rubric so that make sure every part of that assignment is completed. So you're going to choose studies that are relevant to your profession. So whether it doesn't have to be sport, remember it's sport, recreation, and fitness, kinesiology, exercise science, any of that realm is fine. You're going to be specifically looking at more injury management and cases surrounding that. So make sure you read all over that. I think the chapters are really interesting this week, especially the chapter 5 on being a sport agent. That's something that I get questions about all the time. I specifically teach in sports management at On Ground, where I am chair of the Department of Exercise Science Kinesiology. And so I've got a lot of professional or players, a lot of sports players that want to go professional. So they're always asking me about how to find an agent, how to find the right agent, or on the flip side of that, they want to be an agent themselves if they don't get drafted and that type of thing. So I think it's fascinating as I read the chapter. There's so much to understand about law when you are a sport agent, yet you don't have to have a law degree in order to be an agent. So just keep that in mind. Actually, legally, you don't have to have any formal education to be somebody's agent. So sometimes you see parents being agents and that type of thing. But for the most part, people in the industry are going to be looking for people with higher education. So if you're thinking about going into sports law or being an agent of someone, you really need your degree specifically in that. And if you have a law degree in that, even better, because there are so many laws surrounding that. And make sure if you are going to be a sports agent, or if you're going to be on the flip side of that and be a professional that needs an agent, make sure they work very closely with the lawyer and understand the laws surrounding it. Make sure you understand the laws surrounding what you can expect from your agent and what that agent or what that principal is what they call, or that player can expect from you as an agent. So that was interesting. I want to leave you with a couple thoughts. I have been traveling in Belize this week. My husband had some research over there, and it was fascinating to me to be in Central America. It's my first time in Central America, to see a lot of the poverty that is over there. And specifically, we met a little guy who's about 10 years old on one of the islands. We took a boat ride out to Caye Caulker, which is one of the islands off Belize, Central America there. And he was about 10 years old, and he was helping us tour the island and showing us different things, and well beyond his years. I mean, he was like 10 going on 30, which was kind of impressive in and of itself. But one of the things that he mentioned to us is that he really wanted to leave and go back to the States. He didn't want to stay on the island, and his goal was to come back and play soccer, but not the soccer that we think about him there, or football, go back and play football, which they really mean soccer. And he said he wanted to go to high school here, and he had a dream to come to America. And it was really interesting, just getting his perspective on wanting to come here and all the things that the States can afford him here that he may not be able to get there. And, it started kind of a reflection. I started thinking about some things, and, there was a lot of poverty when you get outside the tourist destinations. With my husband and I love to explore, and we like to kind of go beyond the barriers and look into the indigenous things of what Central America really is. It was very shocking to me to see a lot of the poverty-stricken areas, and how families of 4 or 5 or 6 would live in these tiny little huts with probably no electricity, no bathrooms. I mean, they have a beautiful ocean there that they have access to for their food, but that they really relied on to get their food and their was a daily thing. They couldn't stock up on anything because they didn't have a way to really refrigerate it. Everything had to be fresh, and a lot of them sold things on the side of the road to earn money. And it kind of made me started kind of thinking about this young man, Selvin. And at 10 years old, his dad and his stepmother did some type of tourist thing. They sold these, or not sold these, packages for golf carts, because you take golf carts around the island. And I just started wondering, is he ever going to really be able to come to the States? And then it just got me into this deeper reflection as I looked around. It was a very family oriented culture where we were at, I guess, for lack of a better word. Lots of the parents and the kids went to work together. They sold things on the side of the road. Selvin was just hanging out with his mom and dad, I guess it's summertime, and he said they didn't have school there. So they must have been a very similar track as us. But they seemed happy. I noticed that they were out playing sports and riding bicycles a lot. I mean, if you live in a tiny little hut with 6 other people, you're probably, and you don't have electricity, you're probably not playing video games like that we are, and cooped up. You kind of want to get outside. And I noticed, everywhere we looked as we traveled up and down the coast there would be lots of kids outside playing soccer, playing baseball, playing football, riding their bicycles. It was just kind of an eye-opening experience. We don't see that as much here because of TV, I think, and because of some reasons for safety. I imagine, some kids just absolutely can't play outside because they don't live in good neighborhoods. And I get that to some extent, but that culture also forced them to get outside and forced them to stay active. And I think that would be a good thing if our country here could embrace more of getting outside and being active and playing games. We were looking all over the island for Selvin at one point because we had held some stuff that he had. We took him around and had bought him some things, and we were holding it. So we were looking for him at one point, and we found him playing basketball with a group of kids, and just thinking that's what they do, and how we have, we're just not like that in America. We drove back here and we drove to our house, which is about an hour and a half from the airport. And I can't tell you I saw one child out playing, not one. We drove through our neighborhoods. No, there was not one kid outside playing. So I don't know, just made me think. It made me think that you are in such a fantastic profession, chosen in the area of kinesiology. You're in such a great profession to help propel the idea of being active and going outside and getting our youth more active and getting our adults more active. And I just want you to know that your profession is so important, and what you're going into is so relevant, especially here in the United States. And we think that we have so much here, and little Selvin just wanted to come to the States. He didn't want to stay there. And it kind of made me wonder if he'd be better off if he stayed where he was at, because once he gets indoctrinated into our culture, he probably will become a lot more sedentary and may not be as healthy as he is there. It just made me think of some things. I just wanted to pass on to you some food for thought. I thought of a scripture. Actually, there was a couple things that came to mind. There was a quote that I thought, that it says, "Wealth is like seawater. The more you drink, the thirstier you become." And I was thinking that in regards to how I was just talking about how they are not wealthy there. There's a lot of poor families and with very, very, very little things, but yet they seemed happy. And I think they probably were healthier than we are. And it made me think of the scripture in 1 Timothy 6. And starting in verse 6, it says, "But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that. Those who want to get rich fall into temptation and trap, and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. And again, you know, in Sullivan's pursuit of coming to the States, it made me wonder, not obviously he's 10 years old, so he's not thinking, you know, on a level that an adult thinks of. But in the pursuit of that, is he going to pierce himself with many griefs because he's thinking that that's going to bring the more he has, the more opportunities he has, and the more stuff he has, is that going to make him happier? And I don't know. It says in verse 6, godliness with contentment is great gain. So I think we just was a really good kind of eye-opener to think about. We need to be really, really content and strive for contentment with what we have. Not that there's anything wrong with wanting more, but we have to be content right now, right here. And I just want to pass those thoughts on to you today. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. As always, let me know if you need anything. You can text or call, and we'll see you next week.